I told you, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama. Welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation, and welcome to
Superhero Month! Hooray! And this time we are covering, yes, it took this long, the third Deadpool movie, Deadpool and Wolverine!
Yes, now this long-awaited film became a fast box office hit.
Yes.
Last year showing Deadpool having to save his timeline from eradication by getting another version of Wolverine to help him. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notifications on future podcasts and all the pause videos.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sharing our videos, commenting, and supporting Superhero Month, because Rascal's made this a international thing. All these studios celebrating.
Yeah.
We appreciate you so much.
Yes.
So, full disclosure first, this is a family-friendly channel. So we want to let you know that we're not going to show the violent clips or innuendo clips or any of those type of clips, and we won't discuss the ships or anything that's going on. We're going to talk about the movie as a superhero movie, how the characters were translated,
yes, and bringing
fitting,
back characters
right, in the Marvel universe, and the actors themselves, the plot line, and everything moving.
Right.
Those things that are not family friendly, we're not going to cover.
Right,
So,
and because of the way they were presented in the film.
So, when this was first announced, Rascal lost her mind.
Yeah.
She was so excited because she loves Deadpool.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the first two movies I really liked. The first time we saw movie one, and you can see both of our podcasts on those.
Yes.
I was a little stunned because I didn't know what to expect, and I ended up liking it. And we actually got to see it as it aired on TV for the first time.
Yes.
Then Rascal bought the second movie on DVD, and we got to see that as well. So, needless to say, she was excited.
Right.
And then we began to see ads and what was
And the
being
marketing
presented as the movie.
Yes.
Which was like a 180 from the first two movies themselves.
Right. And we do know there were people that told us either in person or online, well, this is how the first two movies were in the beginning. What's the difference here? The difference here is that there's a lot more self-awareness in terms of Deadpool acknowledging Disney bought him and the Fox movies, so he kind of has to address some things he can't say or do in the movies, which was ironic because he said and did a lot that he did back when it was only 20th Century Fox.
True.
And within this story, yes, there was a lot of action, there was a lot of comedy, there was a lot of shout outs to other films, both MCU and pre-Disney Marvel films. However, there was a point in the film, the further in we got, the more we realized it was a little different than the movie was advertised. It was advertised as something fans been wanting for years, a third Deadpool movie.
Which is true.
Right. And we did get a third Deadpool movie, and surprisingly, Wolverine being brought back was fantastic. However, the messages that were in the film and what they were telling people who've been waiting kind of didn't catch on to the things that were being said in the film. Just being, oh my gosh, it's Blade!
So first, for those of you not familiar with Deadpool and Wolverine, it was released in 2024 as a superhero film based on Marvel Comics, featuring the characters Deadpool and Wolverine, produced by Marvel Studios, Maximum Effort, and 21 Laps Entertainment. Distributed by Walt Disney Motion Pictures. And it's the 34th film in the MCU, and the sequel to Deadpool 2016 and Deadpool 2 2018. And the film was directed by Sean Levy from a screenplay he wrote with Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, and Zeb Wells.
A lot of people on this one, yes.
Right. And most exciting, of course, one of the most exciting things was the return of Wolverine, portrayed by Hugh Jackman. And he appears as a reluctant Wolverine from another universe.
Right.
To stop the Time Variance Authority, or TVA, from destroying his own universe.
Right.
It released in July, the right month.
Right.
Of 2024. Runtime 128 minutes. Disney claims, or Marvel claims, it was $200 million budget, and it earned over $1.3 billion at the box office.
Yes, and it happened real fast. It was in the hundreds of millions within a few days. So they made sure everybody that could see it went to see it. And for once, they did a good job on the marketing, because they hadn't done something like this in a long time, where they heavily advertised a movie rather than just give you a couple things to be done. They made sure everyone was excited about this movie from the time they announced it to the time it came out in the theater.
Yes.
And there were some positives in the movie.
Yes.
And biggest ones for us were the performances of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
Which you actually told me a few times. They did give even better performances than before in this film.
Definitely. And also knowing that they have a friendship in real life.
Right.
Got translated in the movie perfectly.
Yeah.
Also the cinematography. You cannot say this movie didn't look good.
Yes.
It looked fantastic.
Yes.
Special effects, outstanding. You can't even say that the $200 million wasn't used on it.
Yeah.
I say they say $200 million because they claim everything's $200 million. But in this movie, you can actually see where that budget went.
Yes.
And the special effects and cinematography again were outstanding.
Right.
And they were nominated for a slew of awards we won't go into because there's so many.
Right.
But they did win a few.
Good.
And then also it was great that it became the highest grossing R-rated film of all time, and the second highest grossing film of 2024, and the 20th highest grossing film of all time. And it's definitely received a lot of accolades.
Yes.
And it was also good that some characters we knew before, like Leslie Uggams, who plays the blind woman.
Oh, Blind Alley, yeah.
Thank you. She returned, and the one who played Vanessa
Yes.
returned. So you got to see some of the returns.
Yes.
And the runtime, I think, although for me it was too long, for people who went to the movie and paid, they got their money.
Right. Not just a quick one and done thing. It felt like it went too fast. Yeah.
Right. Those were the good things before we get to the ending and what we thought of that. Now here are the things that just didn't work for us. And before we start, if you disagree, it's okay.
Yes.
And tell us why in the comments.
Yeah.
What you love about it and why the way we're looking at it is the opposite of how you feel.
Right.
We really want to hear.
Right. And there's
Tell
no
us.
problem.
And as long as you're cordial and polite
Yeah.
and you tell us,
Okay.
we love hearing and getting different perspectives. But if you curse at us
Yeah.
or at us or anything, we're just going to delete your comment.
Yeah, just
So,
fair warning.
you being warned.
So for here, one thing was the biggest draw of the movie besides Deadpool himself was all the appearances of pre-MCU Marvel characters like Blade and Elektra and Johnny Storm and Sabretooth and stuff. People were losing their minds. And yes, it was great seeing all these actors come back from all these Fox films for here.
What wasn't great is them dying.
Yes, and basically it was them saying them off because they were all gonna be casted by new people rather than bringing them back to play their roles. And instead of it being more what we thought was gonna be like, this is the swan song for these beloved character castings, so they go out swinging. And in a way, yes, they do. But the heartbreaking part is that they kind of don't treat the characters right. I mean, yes, Deadpool says things he's supposed to anyway.
And you expect that.
Right. But they were kind of throwing jabs. The more you start paying attention, they started throwing jabs at the original X-Men movies that weren't as clever, at the Daredevil films, especially Fantastic Four, because these people can't stand 2005. It's become a running gag to kill the members of Fantastic Four before MCU as a joke.
And I don't know where that comes from. I think a lot of you who feel that way didn't experience it when it came out. I watched it when it came out, and I was excited. I thought it was great for the time it came out. It was a great movie.
Yes.
So was the sequel, Silver Surfer.
Right.
I disagree with you entirely.
Yeah,
Don't
pretty
at
much.
me, but tell me why you feel different in the comments.
Right.
But if you're looking at it again in the time frame it was released, not comparing it to what you have now, because that's a 20-year difference.
Exactly.
You got to take it for what it was then, and it was groundbreaking because we weren't getting a lot of superhero
Right, they were
movies then,
still every now and then.
and these characters were not well known. They
So-
were from the late 50s, early 60s. So the world got introduced to some characters. we weren't familiar with.
So yeah. So yes, the whole treatment of them being killed off and just in explosion like Rogue One kind of felt, you know, a little hard to swallow. I mean, yeah, you know they're getting recasted, but they have a habit at Disney to kill off characters you like to make room for the next phase or the next people playing them. And it was fun seeing them, especially Wesley Snipes and stuff, but it felt a little bit of a jab at people who like the Fox films that like, oh, well, they're old news, they're done, we're going to get new, better people, they can all just get taken out. And it didn't sit well with us after it was done.
Well, it's Disney, that's what they do.
Right.
Another thing, of course, we mentioned earlier, it was extremely violent. Now, the first two movies we got violence.
Yes.
But this one, it deserved an X rating. It didn't deserve an MA.
And people,
or R. It deserved an XXX because the violence was just catastrophic. And
every time.
I personally, if I had a younger child, there's no way. And
you can't see it.
Would I let my children under 16 watch this movie? I wouldn't even let a 16-year-old watch it.
They're like 18.
I'm sorry, it's just me.
Just for this one, yeah.
But no, the violence was excessive, unwarranted, and unnecessary. If you disagree, you can tell us why in the comments. Yeah. But that's how we looked at it. The first two Deadpool movies had violence, but it was capped.
Yes,
and it fit into the storyline.
Yes, it was choreographed violence.
And some of it was freaking funny.
Yes.
In the first two movies.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I got 12 bullets, and then you see how he does them.
And then another thing that didn't work for us is the taking out of Vanessa as his girlfriend. All that work he did to stay with her, and he loved her,
which made no sense.
And she loved him and stayed with him, and then suddenly we hear at the beginning of the movie they are no longer a couple. You're like, what?
And the thing was, they told it before the movie came out because they knew people would be furious. So they said, okay, let's just tell them now before they start flaming up everything. Tell them that they're not together. And they claim in here is because Wade can't do anything for himself without relying on his Deadpool persona, like have a normal job, normal life, and everything. And the problem was
she knew this.
Yes, and he already wanted to have a calm down life when he wasn't being Deadpool. And they said, well, he's kind of fed up with him being like this, and she broke it off with him. And he spends, again, this entire movie, which was the thing of the first two, where the whole thing was solely for her. First one was to be there for her. The second one was to reverse what happened to her being taken out in the second movie. The third one was to do something so impactful to the world where it shows he can be more than just Merc with a mouth. And they do implement a little bit of this towards the end where his final thoughts are thinking of her, so he still loves her.
Yes.
And the problem for us is that it didn't have as much impact because it made no sense for them to be broken up. They could have just left them together, and he still wants to say, hey, I want to be more than just Deadpool and want to provide for her and everything, and still have these other things in there that would have shown his love and dedication to her regardless of what happened. It just kind of didn't feel as strong because you're kind of left at the end thinking, well, maybe they can reconcile. They're going to have a chance to start over and stuff, but it wasn't necessary.
Right.
And the thing was, you laughed when he said, what works for us? Your crazy matches my crazy. And that was the thing you never thought would happen. Someone was just as loony as him and was in love with him.
Exactly. And when I heard that, I was not happy.
Yeah.
I was pissed. The end of the movie, they tried to bring it back around
with the more
and she
heartfelt thing. Yeah.
And they're back together. But that was unnecessary. They could have been together from the beginning and in the end. And the way that it ended, I'm sorry guys, it was a cop-out. You went from all this catastrophic violence and craziness and stupidity and some instances and everything that happened, and then they sit down and calm down at the end of the table. And to me, it's like they were trying to borrow from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think so.
And they shouldn't have done that. They should have ended it the way a Deadpool movie has ended the first two times.
Right.
And it was disappointing.
And my last addition is that for that ending, now the one thing they did do very well was this Wolverine's character arc where he failed to save his world, but he got a second chance to save someone else's and become a real hero and building up his confidence again. That part was done very well.
Absolutely.
Hugh Jackman's performance was very well done.
Yes.
And I do like at the end, he's got a friend, as the movie
Yes.
presents it. He's got a new friend. He's got people around because he's lost everyone from his universe. And he's got a second chance at being a hero and having life and having friends. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely, I agree.
And here's one issue. We don't know if we're ever gonna see him again now.
Right.
They say, oh, we're gonna use him in the other X-Men movies, but are we rebooting everything? Where are the new X-Men gonna come
And
from?
on top of that, while the movie was out in the theaters the first week, they killed off Deadpool.
In the comics, and it's his daughter's Deadpool, and then you were just sitting, and someone said,
And now his Blake Lively, his wife, is gonna be Lady Deadpool.
Stop!
Make up your mind.
And most worst people said this is probably one of the worst timings in cinema history. This movie's a box office smash, and you killed off the character, and you don't care.
Yes. So
So that was it, to be fair. Oh, and we love Dogpool. That's
Yes.
forgot to add that we love Dogpool, so it is adorable.
So quickly, we want to give a shout out as always to the cast. Ryan Reynolds, of course, is Wade Wilson, Deadpool. Hugh Jackman is Logan, Wolverine. Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova.
Which was new for us.
Baccarin as Vanessa Carlyle. Rob Delaney is Peter Wisdom. Leslie Uggams is Blind Al. Aaron Stanford is John Allardyce Pyro. Matthew McFadden is Mr. Paradox. I'm sorry.
Paradox, yeah.
And we also mentioned the slew of appearances. There's so many, we're not going to go through them. But
Oh, man,
they
so many
were
cameos.
all fun to see.
Yes.
It definitely was fun seeing all these people appear, all these characters. And one we got to mention, because everyone has, is Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Yes, and people are thinking, well, actually, pretty much suggesting should Channing Tatum play Gambit in the upcoming X-Men films. Now, for the movie, they kind of keep making the joke where his Cajun accent's so thick, no one can understand what the heck he's saying. They just kind of just ignore him half the time. And that kind of was a 50-50 reaction. Some loved this portrayal and said, yes, have him in it. Some thought it was more of a making fun of the character for no reason. We're not sure. He played it very well. Maybe just toned down the joke on his accent. And yeah, I could see him playing Gambit if they really do come forward with these X-Men movies supposed to have.
Absolutely, I agree. So critical response, Rotten Tomatoes, who's still rotten, gave it a 78% out of 414 critics. Now they get a lot because they knew it was going to get a positive response. But every time they have 8, 9, 5, 10, they can't justify the rating. This time, oh hey, the world loves it. Let's get a whole lot of people.
Right?
So
now we can be
Rotten Tomatoes is
positive.
Still rotten.
Oh.
Deadline Hollywood said the titular team up works beyond your wildest screen team dreams, and it's just got really great critical praise.
Yep.
Now, also as I mentioned, it was nominated for tons of awards all over the world. It's won some, it lost some.
Right.
And there was a documentary produced called The Making of Deadpool and Wolverine, released on Disney Plus, November 12th, 2024. So if you don't have November Plus, if you don't have Disney Plus, you don't get to see it, which really sucks because I would like to see.
Yeah,
the
that would
behind
have
the
been fun.
scenes and how it was made. And Disney missed yet another opportunity for promotion, showing people this on demand. And
before the movie
services.
came out.
They could have done it even after to give people an impetus to want to see the movie.
Yes.
Who maybe didn't have it before.
Yes.
But no, yet again, it's exclusive. And so the ability to get more people to want to see it, they lost that opportunity. It's just something they tend to do all the time.
Yeah.
So, if you have seen Deadpool and Wolverine, whether it was at the movies, digitally, on Disney Plus, or DVD, let us know in the comments. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was meh? What were your favorite parts? Who was your favorite character? Tell us. We really want to know.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen it, I don't know what's going on. If we watched it, you watch it.
Yeah, you should.
Go watch it. Come back and tell us your honest opinions on this movie.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, video videos for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us. In the beginning, it's Superhero Month.
Yes,
We got a lot
hooray!
of great podcast for you, covering some things that are old favorites, new favorites, and so much more. As always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching Mask Entertainment.
and Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.